Greetings. I am Dr. Noni Davis, coming to you from Sya Academy. I have been operating this school for 29 years, legacy owner with my parents, the late William Edward Davis, and my mother, Sylvia Davis, who is still with us. Um, I want to continue this journey of what did Black people do, what did we do in the past? Let's go back and fetch it and practice Sankofa and figure out what can we do as a people to make this world a better place for us. Um, we've talked about the first, Black Wall Street, Black community hospitals, Black schools, and all kinds of things that we started upon our freedom once we got our freedom. And one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is that, oh, I just marvel at what we were able to accomplish. We were under a US regime in America for like 400 something years, right? And this criminal enterprise, known for its wealth, known for catering to wealthy people, because the reason why we're over here is because wealthy people were able to buy land, and they needed people to grow cotton and sugar cane and all kinds of stuff. And they didn't know how to do it. So they went and got the experts who knew how to do it. And that was us. Um, they were multimillionaires and billionaires, and these people are hoarders. If we were still putting people who are over collecting things in um, on these TV shows, hoarders should really be regarding uh, um, billionaires in the millionaire class, because how many houses can you sleep in, and how many cars do you need, and how many, they just switching wives in and out, children, they barely raise their children. These people are just here. They're selfish, and there is definitely a mental health issue, in my opinion, because you think that you deserve to make $8 million a day. There's this person making $8 million a day and has a problem with somebody getting $65 a day in Social Security, and we know who he is. But just imagine Africans fresh out of enslavement, literally, with, how they say, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. So we ain't had no straps, we ain't had no boots. We just had the raggedy clothes that we had on our back, and we didn't have anything. And so from literally nothing, we organized, we pulled our families together, the ones that we could find. And some of us had to create new families, but we managed to pull ourselves out of this shabby, unhealthy. We were not so many times we were denied quality food, poor housing conditions, and just trauma. And we managed to pull ourselves out of that and become uh these amazing people with this amazing with businesses. And some of us are still struggling to this day because they don't know who we are, and life has just not been easy for them. But uh we pulled ourselves as a collective, in this uncivilized nation, and we create institutions to address the needs of our people, and we created schools to educate all ages from child to 12. People were learning how to read. We created hospitals. We created societies that had the word African, free African societies, the African Methodist Episcopal Church, the African Methodist Church. We just, we said, oh, we're going to take our names. And so in that moment, we were proud to be African. We were proud. We weren't trying to be Negro. We weren't trying to be colored. We were African. We embraced that. We created towns and districts. full of businesses with skilled labor and unskilled labor. We were carpenters, launderers, masons, engineers. We were doctors. We were barbers. We owned, let's see, what I said, laundry businesses. We were hairstylists. Let's see, tailors and seamstresses, farmers, and store owners, and we just we did everything. Shoe shinemen, we made hats, we did everything. And out of these communities, we developed Black Wall Streets and all over America. And as a collective, we now know how powerful we are as a people, because where else do you have historically a group of people uh, who suffered from an enforced poverty? Poverty was forced upon us, enforced ignorance, refusing to let us read and write and do all these things. Where else historically do you have a people like that who rose up out of that situation and have transformed and influenced the world in music, in fashion, inventions, culture, dance. Let's see, we have science, politics, education, and in so many ways, and just an endless number of things that we have done for not just America, we have influenced the entire world. And even, Black people all over the world, everybody knows about Jamaica, everybody knows about Brazil, and the barrios there. And so we have had a tremendous influence in spite of the trauma. And I really believe that this is our ancestral legacy, because we were the first people on the planet, so we had to figure everything out. We had to figure out, hey, what are those things in the sky? Those are stars. Some of them are grouped a certain way, and we see these groupings and patterns when there's a certain season, and so we're going to name these stars that we see. We had to figure out the moon, how many days that moon was going around the earth. We had to figure out how many days that earth was going around the sun. We figured out that the sun, you know what, I think the sun must be in the center of our solar system. We had to figure that out. We had to figure out food. We had to figure out how to make weapons so we can defend ourselves. We had to figure out how to make tools so we can farm, and what could we eat. We had to figure out what we could even eat. What animals could we eat? What plants could we eat? Oh, what medicines can we create? I mean, we had to create architecture. We had to create everything to survive. So this is our legacy, and we need to embrace it and celebrate it. And also understand that we will survive. We don't care what these people do. We're going to survive it. We're going to perpetuate our innovation and our intelligence, and move through this very deep, dark period in the world, or in America, which it has always been foolishness. Let's not forget. So today I will discuss African banking systems in America. But before I go on to that, there was something that I thought about. I said, I wonder, how old are these susus? And so a susu means community funding. It's a community fund. And susus are a practice of a collective of people coming together who trust each other, and they organize and put money in a pot, and they agree whether they want to be $50 or $100, or how often do you want to do it? You want to do it weekly, or do you want to do it monthly or bi-weekly or whatever? And they all work together. So like if there are 10 people who agree, and they put $100 in every month for, like, let's say 10 months, that is a susu. And a susu is from the Yoruba word, what is it? Esusu. And the Igbo call it isusu, and the Hausa people call it adashi. But they believe that it originated in Nigeria. And this was before white people had any contact. So this was before European contact or pre-colonialism. And so these people found ways to help each other and to pull money on a on a fixed basis, weekly and monthly. And so each month the pot goes to a different person. So let's say somebody needs some money to buy a car and everybody decides, okay, or down payment or whatever, weddings. I've heard they use it for graduations and all of that. So a person needs the money. In this way, they could, people who want to save money entered into these spaces. People who had needed emergency money would enter into a susu, and they would so I think they would set a time where they would start collecting, and the first person may be the person who's in real need, and they would get the first pull of who said $100 for 10 weeks, that'd be $1,000, and then the next person would get it. So they would all collaborate and organize and figure out who would get what. The blessing of the susu was that there's no interest payment, and there was no loss. Uh, it enabled people to save and periodically have access to a lump sum of money or capital. And this reminds us when I was doing the research about what's his name? Richard Allen and Absalom Jones. They're the ones that started the federal the Free African Society in Philadelphia. And so the whole point of that was mutual aid. And so people came into this collective where they were pulling their money to help orphans, to help widowed women, to help people who may have needed burial, and or people who may have needed, just their housing situation straightened out. People were able to do this through these free African societies that they created in 18. I mean, well, this was 1787, I think, with Richard Allen and Absalom Jones. But just imagine, I mean, the ones that were open after that, this is what they were doing. And so I was like, were they doing susus? And so I found out, I read that, like I said, they originated in Nigeria. And I found this article is called on parent.com, and it was written by this girl, Hannah Noke, in January 2025 under Family Finances. So it's a really good article. Nwoko says the Susus originated in Nigeria prior to colonial invasions, and this practice eventually spread to other West African countries, including Ghana, and during the European slave trade was transplanted in the Caribbean. Well, if it was translated in the Caribbean, surely it had to be translated here in the States. And so that's why I was making the connection. I was like, wait, when Africans got free, they did this, but they didn't call it a susu. They call it mutual aid society or community funding. And that's exactly what a susu means, community fund. So we were practicing susu before banking. And I think that that's also how our insurance companies emerge. I mean, that practice of Ubuntu. And so they said they brought this practice with them to the Americas, and this tradition may have been the view of, like I said, Absalom Jones and Richard Allen. Now, they didn't say that. I'm making that assertion. And when in other Black communities, and I believe that had to be the foundation. So susus are called Raska, according to this Dr. Caroline Shanaz Hassan, who founded the Diverse Solidarity Economics Collective, ROSCA. ROSCA means Rotating Savings and Credit Associations. pulling co-op banks. And this banking system is global. Okay. These are ancient economic systems of collectivity that help African people create economic independence in response to bias and exclusion from European banking institutions. So we know that Africans, in the past and even today, cannot just go to the bank and get a loan. We can't go to these institutions. A lot of times our interest rates are going to be too high, or they're not going to, we may not need the amount that they're asking. That what we need may be less than what maybe less than what they are requiring that we get. And so, um, these susus were created to help us, um, to alleviate that problem. Okay, so the bank is not going to give you money. How much money do you need? Let's get 10, 15 people together and create a susu, and make sure you get that money the way you need it. Now, and you supported community development, engaged citizenship and camaraderie among excluded people, and it led to people. It's a people-led economy. I love that, and community well-being instead of individualism of conformity to banking industry. And so, when I was discussing the North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Bank, that was their of that was their framework, and they collected this money and used it to purchase properties, and then they rented these properties out so people could properties so these people could start their own businesses. And so I was like, huh, susus, or what we were doing to start these Black Wall Streets, huh? Or that same framework is what we were using. So it supported community development. I mean, and bottom up development, bottom up. So you had people who just needed money to get started with their businesses, and socialism. Anyway, accountability to the group. Members depended on honesty and determination to be committed to keeping their promise to honor their monthly contribution. So instead of people harassing you, look, you better pay your money, and threatening to kick you out, people entered. If you have set what you can do, and I know, that there's stuff that happens, but apparently they figured out the commitment to making these payments was such that people did not renege. I mean, the folks that they really trusted, and a lot of times it happened among family members, and or people who were very close in their community, but they did this to help each other out. And so they said, so one was the reason why it worked is because there's accountability. Number two, because of value, you help out neighbors suffering from an immediate financial crisis, and everyone contributes. And over time, everyone is paid back in full with no penalties and no interest. So you did not have to, so everybody got paid. The loan time may have only been, like I said, 10 months. In less than a year, you were done paying everybody back. Everybody got their part when they were supposed to get it. And then social desirability. Social ties are recognized, social relationships are maintained, and you create empathy and group interest. So just imagine that. And reciprocity and equal distribution. So everybody, that put their $100 in, if you had 10 people in 10 depending on your time frame, everybody by the end of that time got their got $1,000 back. And so that they could do what they needed to do. Build, and this is how they build Black communities through microfinancing. So susus offer an effective, trustworthy way to build wealth, rotate savings, make personal sacrifices to help one another, attend college, support weddings or finance a wedding, start businesses, pay off bills, buy a car. This is what they did, and it supports a life cycle, the life cycle of the community, whether it's the life cycle of their family or whatever. People are not just borrowing; people are putting their money together and moving through situations that they have. These susus can prove that people are credit worthy too. So in New York, apparently apparently in New York, this Reverend Charles Butler, Dr. Charles Butler, who was a VP of Equitable Development of at Harlem Congregations for Community Improvement in 2016. I think this was in the other article. Um, there was another article. Oh, I can't remember. Susus to help members. They were able to, I'm trying to think, did I have it? I don't think I have it in this one. They created a Susu to help, shh, um, let me see. Da, da, da. Oh, right here it is. I want to show a picture of the women in the Susu. So this was, one of the pictures I found. These are women in Africa doing a Susu startup, and everybody's bringing their money to the treasurer. But what he said is that he was able to use these Susus, and because they were recording, I'm trying to think, do I have it? Oh, this is what I was looking for. So the Susu contribution and distribution tracker. So what they did is they record date, date one, date two, what everybody is putting in, and they've got people's names, and they have what they're paying each month. And so because you're able to you're showing that you're credit worthy, they were able to take these trackers and then say, oh, okay, these people have proven that they will pay their bills. And they were using it to be able to get credit in up in New York, and this was in 2016. He was able to help people because of their recording. So that was what I was showing you. So, and this was in Essence magazine. That's where it was. Okay. So, in Essence, this girl, how does a susu work? This young lady, Lile Z. Michali, she wrote this in February of 2020, and the article is, it says everything you ever wanted to know about those Susu savings African and Caribbean women love. Okay, so the first thing they do is they get a treasurer. They vote as a group who would be the treasurer, and the treasurer is the person who collects the payments and creates a payout roster. So this would be what you would see. This is the collection and payout roster, and that is based on agreement among the participants. The payment, or they call it a hand, depending on where you are. That would be your hand. The payment will be your hand. Is given on a specific date in the rotation cycle. So participants agree how much to contribute and how often the payment will be made. So, for example, $50 every 2 weeks, $100 a month, for with 10 members, which means $1,000 payout, which is or a payout or hand, per week, beginning 10 weeks after the first payment. So the first 10 payments is just the collecting of that money over that time frame. And then after that, everybody will get paid $1,000 per week. You have to make sure you keep paying in. But the article states that this was a practice brought to the Americas, like I said, during the slave trade, which affirm, I believe, that early mutual aid societies may have been based on this practice of susu, and even our insurance companies like North Carolina Mutual Savings and Loan, Black Wall Streets, were built on this Ubuntu framework of susus. I really think that that's what happened. The first now I did want to go ahead and, like, now we can just move into how the banks that we had in the states. Um, the first bank created for African Americans was in the Freedmen's Bureau 1865, it was called the Freedmen's Savings Bank. But that one was operated by white people, white men to be specifically. And they ran it in the ground. They ran in the ground. They were doing all kinds of fraud. These banks had, I think they said they had 37 branches in 17 states and 67,000 depositors. And these white men just blew these black people's money away. The people lost all their money in this thing. And they just had little oversight and mismanagement, and it just this is what happens. And we have these billionaires, and they're still doing that. They're bankrupting the country. These people have no real strong sense of building without destroying. Anyway, so between 1888 and 1934, there were several banks. Let's see, you had let's see, you had Capital Savings Bank in 1888. You had Community Focus Bank, which was like a new form of susus. You had the Magdalena Walker Bank in 1903. It was called St. Luke Penny Savings Bank in Richmond, Virginia. And Maggie Lena Walker was the first African American woman to open up a bank, and that was 1903. The Citizens Trust Bank in 1904 was opened by Richard H. Boyd and about 15 other people in Nashville, Tennessee. And then the oldest continuously operating African American bank in USA is the Citizens Trust Bank. Currently, there are 148 minority-owned financial institutions totaling $349 billion. But why are these black banks important? So I'm going on this website. It's called oneunited.com, and that's the name of a bank. The history of black banks and three reasons why they are important. So on this oneunited.com, it said they're the same things that I've already discussed. They're important because they turn nickels into dollars and strengthen collective organization. So people, all the people were bringing their money together, putting their money in, and then that money was rotating around the community and opening up other businesses and helping people with things that they needed to do. It served black people credit for us in our community when credit denial was the norm in the white community. So not only, they won't charge you interest rates that were out the same thing with insurance. They're going to give you a lower premium for a higher price. And here, they're going to give you a smaller loan at a higher interest rate. It's just ridiculous. And then basically discriminatory practices, better loan practices designed for African American short-term, small dollar loans. And then we were able to get real estate because, they were redlining us, and white people were not going to help black people get homes in red line areas. So these black banks were supporting black people and getting the homes that they wanted in these spaces. And so, but currently, so let me see. I'm going to go through what I have here with the banks that are still open. Let's see. No. Oh, okay. Okay, so here, that was the Free African Society I was talking to you in 1787 under leadership of Richard Allen and Absalom Jones. This organization fostered identity, leadership, and unity among blacks and became the forerunner of the first African American churches in the city. But it was a free mutual society as well. And then here's an example of how the susu works. So you see the first person got $400, and they have the date. So each month, the next person would get it 4/5/19, 5/5/19, 3/5/19, 3/5/19, 3/5/19. So it looks like it just shows you how everybody was getting paid out. So everybody was putting their money in, and that's how it went. All right. So $400 each. And so then Here is a map of where the current uh, banks are. And so we got one in North Carolina, and I'll show you another map, but these are where black banks are located. All right. And so let's see, let me see, did I do that? What was that other picture that I had? All right. So this is black owned banks by state. And you see that's New York up there at the top. So the dark blue ones are New York, Alabama, Georgia, and Texas. And then the next group is what Pennsylvania, Illinois, North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee, and Florida, and Louisiana. And then you see the next shade of green, it's California, and those are the rest of the states. But you can see that most of them are concentrated in the Midwest over to the East Coast and the South. Huh. And so black-owned banks by state, that's where they are. And the number of institutions determines is by the color. So the more banks they have, the darker the color. And so North Carolina, I think, is like number 4. We have 4 institutions. Anyway, I thought that was really interesting. So we have these black-owned banks in New York, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, North Carolina, Illinois, South Dakota, California, Texas, Minnesota, Louisiana, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, South Carolina, Virginia, and New Jersey. Now, the last thing I wanted to show, oh God, I didn't mean to go this slow, was the picture of the wealthiest black-owned banks. First City Bank and Citizens Trust. That's in Carver Federal Savings Bank. So there they are. We got black banks, and most of us didn't know it. But do you just imagine? They all started with this concept of susu. I love it. I love it. We are continuing our African traditions, even if we don't always know that we're doing it. But yeah, that's what we're doing. So give thanks. I appreciate you. Ashe, Ashe-o.
If you're talking, they will hear you.
We all want our kids to grow up safe and healthy, so we show them how. And we tell them with honest conversations that let them know what we expect. Not just one time, but every chance we get. That's especially important when it comes to alcohol and other drugs. Kids not only need to know the dangers and how to avoid them, they need to hear it often from you. And when it comes to pain medications, opioids, they need to know that they should never be taken without a prescription and never shared with friends or family. It's dangerous and illegal. So talk with your kids and guide them through the challenges of growing up safe and healthy. Because when you talk, they hear you. For more information about talking with your kids about underage use of alcohol and other drugs, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
So talk, they hear you. You can do it if you try.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I walk into the sound of drums.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I know my mom.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I can play the drum.
I'm a St. Sya student. Of course I can work with my hands.
I'm a St. Sya student.